Bibliophiles of the Internet. My name is Adriana and today I'm here with some recommendations. Today is pretty exciting because I will be recommending you some books that are very creatively written and that will push you well outside of your comfort zone and challenge you as a reader, and those are my favorite kinds of books. As much as I would like to, I can't take credit for this recommendations idea because I got it from my lovely friend Maria from Maria Muses, who actually left this idea as a comment on my Q&A announcement video. I read it, I loved it, I told her as much, and I said I love this idea so much I'm going to make it into its own recommendations video, and that's what's happening today. So thank you so much, Maria, for this incredible idea, and I hope this video is everything you hoped it would be. So the list I've compiled for this video is very focused on books that are written creatively, books that are written in an atypical form. Their writing style, format, composition, or perspective is so unique that you might not find their equivalent anywhere else, if at all. I think I've rambled on long enough now, so without any further ado, let's get straight into the recommendations. The first book that absolutely fits the bill for this video is World War Z by Max Brooks. First of all, this book is incredible. I would venture to say this is the best piece of literature that deals with the concept of the zombie apocalypse, because you will not find another book that more thoroughly explores the fallout of the zombie apocalypse than World War Z. The most awesome part of this book, and the reason why it's on this list, is because the story is told exclusively through a series of interviews. This is definitely not your traditional style of narration, because as it says on the cover, this is very much an oral history of the zombie war. There is a protagonist who is going throughout the world and doing this research and conducting these interviews, but it's not about him. He's not really present in the story. It's really about gaining this worldwide, global perspective about this tragic era. And the fact that this story is not tethered to one single protagonist is what really allows it to be so incredibly thorough, as I said. This book really touches on almost every single perspective you can possibly think of in relation to the zombie apocalypse, maybe even perspectives that you hadn't considered before. And even though this story is told in such a different way, I think it really does build to something incredible and exciting, and overall I think this is a fascinating take on the zombie apocalypse. The next book I have to recommend to you is one of my absolute favorite stories, and that is The Lover's Dictionary by David Levithan. As you might have gathered from the title, this is a love story, but it's unlike any love story you've read before because it's told entirely in dictionary definitions. Of course, it's not composed of literal dictionary definitions, but the narrator takes commonplace words, or sometimes even obscure or forgotten words, and gives them a whole new life, context, and connotation through the lens of this love story. So instead of chapters, this book is divided up into dictionary entries, and each entry kind of functions as a vignette or a piece of flash fiction that just gives you a little glimpse into this one relationship. But wait, there's more! The truly beautiful thing about this book is that the narrator only uses personal pronouns and you pronouns, so it's impossible to tell the gender, sexuality, or identity of these characters. There are no indicators, there is no way for you to tell, and that is great. The next book I'm here to recommend is The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami. Basically, this story is about a character who goes to his local library and ends up trapped there in this otherworldly, surreal space, and he doesn't know if he'll ever get home again. I included this book on this list because it makes so many readers uncomfortable, and not because of the topic or the content, but because they don't know what to make of it. When a story is abstract, when it's not definitive or it doesn't spell everything out, most readers hate that, and it makes them incredibly uneasy, and that is exactly what this book is and what it does. You will get to the end of this story and you will wonder, what did I just read? What was the point of what I just read? What just happened? And the beauty of this story is that because it's so unique and so strange and so out there, that everyone will come to their own conclusion. Some people will completely disregard it. Some people will think that it's pointless. Some people will think that it's weird and they'll move on with their life and try to forget that it ever happened. And some people won't be able to get it out out of their minds. Where will you fall? I don't know. That's the beauty of this story. The next book I would recommend is Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie, but I don't own that one yet, so I have the sequel, Ancillary Sword. I chose to include this book because I think it offers a really unique perspective. Obviously, this is a sci-fi space opera trilogy, and the main character, Breck, is an ex-AI unit and an ex-soldier. So she's definitely not human because she still retains some aspects of artificial intelligence, and she does have technological abilities, but she's definitely not an ancillary unit anymore either because she broke away from her ship and went rogue. And the crazy thing is, because of that, there can be multiple scenes happening simultaneously because Breck has access to so many different people and so many different streams of consciousness. She can be experiencing something firsthand, but at the very same time, she can also be witnessing something that is not happening in her immediate vicinity. She has access to the ship. She can see through the ship's perspective. She can communicate with other people. She can see through other people's perspectives. She can read the emotions and overhear the conversations of her officers and her lieutenants. It really makes for this incredibly layered and complex narration style, and I think it's fantastic. I have a few more books I would like to mention, but the thing is I haven't read them myself, so I can't call them recommendations because that implies that I'm offering them up from my own personal experience, so instead I will call them suggestions. My first suggestion or suggestions is anything by Louise Erdrich. I am ashamed to say that while I have read some of her shorter works, I have not read any of Louise Erdrich's novels, and that is a shame because I know she endeavors to tell the Native American experience. And that is extremely important. That's why I opted to include her on this list, because I would wager that not many of you have ventured very far into Native literature, and part of going outside of your comfort zone is to seek out books that are from different, lesser known, and underrepresented perspectives. You might not want to hear this, but part of going outside of your comfort zone is to read books that have characters who are not white and that are written by authors who are not white. Another book I would suggest is George by Alex Gino. I don't have the dust jacket on this book because I'm currently reading this one. First of all, I knew I wanted to include some queer lit on this list because unfortunately most queer lit is outside of many readers' comfort zones, and I doubt there are very many of you who have read a great deal of books that are not from the perspective of a cisgendered heterosexual protagonist. And even if you have, I doubt that you've read a book like this, which is about a non-cisgendered character and is about and for children. I'm not entirely sure whether this is a children's book or a middle grade book, but either way it is geared towards a younger audience, and that is extremely important. And I think this book will take many readers outside of their comfort zone simply because the main character's birth name is George and everyone calls her that, but in her narration she refers to herself with female pronouns and as a girl. So there is that tension there that I think most people won't be used to. So as I said, this book is incredibly important in my opinion, and I think you should all buy it and read it for yourself. My final suggestion is You by Caroline Kepnes. From what I understand, this book is like a creepy thriller that's from the perspective of a stalker, and you're basically following him as he follows his object of obsession. What I think is really enticing about this story, and what will definitely make people uneasy and push them outside of their comfort zone, is the fact that this story is told from a second-person point of view. At least that's what I've heard. The quickest way to shove a reader well outside of their comfort zone is to present them with a story that's told in second person. Readers hate second person. Write a story in second person and watch your readers squirm. They do not like it. I am a huge believer in second person. I love second person, and I have yet to read a book that is told entirely from a second person point of view, but I think that's what this is. And also the fact that the story is told from the perspective of a stalker and the reader is constantly reading the word you over again. I think that adds an extra layer of creepiness to the story that I think I'm going to love, and I really want to read this one. So those were my recommendations and suggestions for books that will push you outside of your comfort zone. In the comments down below, please let me know if you have read any of the books I mentioned today, or if you know of any books that are written in a different and creative way and that are outside of the box and that you think will challenge me as a reader. Please recommend them to me down below because I want more. But that is everything I had for this recommendations video today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the flip side of the page. Bye.